recording oneself is a very funny thing. Right now, I feel like I'm watching myself. I feel like an outsider from my own perspective. Right? I'm viewing myself from the point of view of this camera recording me, and not from my actual point of view that I've grown up in. That is what alienation is. The first thing we need to cover is this idea of a concrete reality that we've all been brought up to believe in. This idea that there is a concrete reality outside of all of us, right? The reason we were brought up believing this is not because of some crazy conspiracy. It's not because of that's not what I'm gonna say. It's because it's a really effective way of thinking about the world, right? I'll stop speaking in code. What I'm trying to say is, we all believe in science. We all believe in a concrete reality that we can delve into with our scientific instruments. And this idea of objectivity, right? The first thing we need to do is dismantle that notion. Reality is purely inside your head. Now, even if there was, I don't need you to get on board with me right now about that. Even if you still want to believe that there's a concrete reality out there, if you want to just believe the science right now because you're so conditioned with it, right? Or whatever, you're not conditioned with it, I think you're conditioned with it. Still, you can never access this concrete reality in and of itself, right? Fine, maybe the figures refer to some objective concrete reality, but you'll only ever be able to see the figures through your own perspective, through your own first-person experience. This is Kant. This is a very Kantian thing. Okay? We can never know the thing in and of itself. Okay? A philosophical concept introduced by Kant. What is it? What is it? Referring to the reality of an object as it exists independently of human observation, senses, or conceptual frameworks. This is important. People think they know this. We all go around being like, oh, you don't know the thing in and of itself. This is this is like the equivalent of people walking around being like, oh, ship of Theseus. Do you think the ship becomes a new ship? All this pop philosophy. This is something else that's paraded around enough. But people don't really get it. This is actually an important one. Ship of Theseus is some boring, it used to refer to an interesting idea, but it became a boring story in and of itself that people just paraded around to make it sound like they were saying something interesting, right? That's what pop philosophy is. It's philosophy which is just turned into an interesting idea. Oh, that's an interesting thought. I'll think about that in the shower for a couple minutes, maybe. Or we can talk about it now instead of going on our phones for 10 seconds and it's some reprieve from the misery within. Anyway, I'm going off topic. It's an important concept. What does it refer to? It means it refers to the reality of an object as it exists independently of human observation, senses, or conceptual frameworks. So observation doesn't work. The figures don't point towards the object. Your senses don't point to... There's something that you can never access. My only point is that we live in a very Kantian society. To go back again to the actual point, we live in a very Kantian society. So part of your conditioning is, okay, there might be... Kant still believes in a concrete reality outside of ourselves, but we can still all agree that you can't get at it. You can't get it. There's the thing you can't get at. Fine. You can either believe that or you believe that reality is entirely inside your head. Anyway, all you have access to is your first-person experience. That's the point. We can agree on that. You only have access to your first-person experience in life. You, right? All of what you can know is the same. right? So whether you think like you believe in Kant and it's like, okay, there's a concrete reality and I'll never be able to access it because I'm restricted to my phenomenological senses of like touch, taste, see, you know, like I can only see certain spectrums of like all this type of stuff, then that's all that's in your head. It's coming from some other concrete reality, fine, have it, but that's all that you have. So the argument is not about what's in your head. We all agree of like what's in our head for the most part. You could believe that everyone else is like a robot apart from you, but that's just like a stupid theory, right? It doesn't really matter. Fundamentally, we're not arguing about what first-person experience feels like. We can all agree on what it feels like, basically. And this links back to this whole idea of like original, like the original thing is just what it feels like, and we're getting rid of feeling. But anyway, that's a whole other side story. Whole story, not even a side story. Anyway, the thing that's inside your head is the same. We can agree on that. Either all of it is in your head, or just some of it is in your head, and there's the other bit is the concrete reality bit. I just realised you can't see any of my hand motions, so then it must have been fucking. I need the hands. Fuck. So over here, I need it lower. Actually, I need it quite low. Oh fuck. It's a full body exercise, yeah. That what I need? I need a whole canvas. Oh, okay, that's good. We're also narcissistic by default nowadays, where it's like, oh yeah, it needs to be in on my face. Well, it's like, what are you really trying to achieve? Like, what helps with being in frame? Does like your body being in frame help, or does your face being in frame help, or does all of it being in frame help more than having a close up? Anyway, I don't want my head cut off. Oh yes. Now it's like proper. Fuck. Now that that's all adjusted, what I was saying is. I'm going to say it again. It doesn't matter if you believe that there's a concrete reality or not. I'm going to say it again, and do you know why? Because we can take our time with this. No one lets you take time anymore to play while you figure out as well. Like, for playing to be the way that you figure things out. And they happen contemporaneously. No one has time for that anymore. We need the pie chart. We need the bar graph. We need the instant, we need the 5-minute video which just tells us what it is. And that's why we love all of that pre-scripted fucking IAI and Big Think on YouTube. I know you've all watched those fucking Big Think videos. You know, all those my only point is we need it in bite size. Even if it's 10 minutes. If it's 10 minutes and it's pre-scripted and they got the cuts going and it's high quality, all this shit, Vox, Big Think, you all know what I'm talking about. You all know what I'm talking about. You all watch it all the time. Maybe it's moved on to even shorter form content because I've been out of my phone for the past 6 months. So maybe it's gotten even worse. But I knew you guys know what I'm talking about recently. Yeah, it's all this you go on YouTube and everyone's YouTube feed actually kind of looks the same, even though the topics might be different. Oh, the medium is the same, even though the topics might be different. So the medium is the message. Wow, look at that. Anyway, we'll get onto that at some point in the series. The medium is the message. It doesn't matter what the content is. Okay, look, the news. I don't fucking watch news. Oh, I'm getting Professor Jiang predicts US will lose Iran war. It doesn't matter if they're getting pro-Iran or not pro-Iran content.
All right, guys, we've got yet another heavy hitter guest and first-time guest on the show.
And we're okay with it being like this. See, now I'm actually needing to play stuff, so it's good that I set up the whole system audio thing. Crew, all right. Look at this. If I turn on my headphones, I'm going to show you the 10-step process. And then, and you have to click black hole, which will go to here. And then I need to click monitor off. Then I need to click monitor on again, because OBS is a piece of shit. So you have to remember that little. That's tribal knowledge, right? That's not documented anywhere, right? And then I can hear what you guys hear. So I know that I'm not ear rapping you guys. So yeah, The medium is the message. Let's see what the medium is. What's the medium that we're all consuming? What's the medium? Because people are like, oh, YouTube is a medium and it changes you in a certain way. Yeah, that's what the medium is the message means, yes. Like, the medium changes you in a certain way. And, like, more than the content does is like the full claim. But like, no one deeps it. Like, oh, okay, the comment, like, the most basic explanation of it is that, like, oh, the comments on YouTube, and now you can like and upvote videos and downvote videos, and like, this changes the way that you view the media and content, right? It's like all the stuff around it counts as the medium now. It's like way more than that. It's so much more than that. Yes, it's also the recommendations bar that's also next to all the videos that you watch, but it's like also even the fundamental like medium of the content, the soft medium. Basically what we talk about with medium can get softer and softer as a definition, and more pliable, and take us to more and more interesting places. First, the medium was considered to be like the physical electronic object, like the TV or the desktop. Yes, fine, that's the medium. And so Marshall McLuhan was a media theorist of television. Then it gets softer, right? And then it's like, oh, the medium is also like the way that the program is put together, right? And all the stuff around the program, the ads in between, the ads being in, like Boja touched on this, right? The fact that like even there are ads in between everyone's television presentations, I was going to say was a big deal. Yes, we don't watch TV now, but same principle. So it mattered when everyone was watching TV that there's like ads, it turns the news into just another item, like blah, 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 in a series, like, you know, it all gets jumbled up, the casual and the intense and the dramatic, and it's just one big stream that you don't ever interact with. You're just a receiver, right? Transmission, message, receiver. Look at this. Model. It will come up. Transmitter. Fuck, man. Here we go. Formalized by Roman Jacobson. That's worth it. Okay. Fuck off. You know what? I just realized something. And I think it's interesting enough to take a complete tangent from my initial point, which I will get back to. All right, I got the tab here. Tabs are great. They're like a way you can step back instead of having to do it yourself. Right, I will get to it. It's the same amount of reality. I'm going to do the hand actions again. But there's one thing that I realized looking at this, which is that the entirety of philosophy is just figuring out. This is why like semiology was really big in postmodernism and in continental philosophy, which is the only real philosophy, by the way. Analytic philosophy is not real philosophy. It's all about systems of meaning. Because I found this thing I was trying to show you guys, the receiver, message, transmitter thing, whatever. It's a bit different in the book, but this is it. It's by Jacobson. I found the guy's name. It's all about, like, it seems so simple, like sender, person, entity sending the message, receiver, person, entity receiving the message. Like, what are they talking about? How is this guy a sociologist and a linguist and a semiotician? How is this guy all of those things when it's so basic? It's like a school spreadsheet. Well, it's because all of philosophy, all of real philosophy is just figuring out why the fuck are we doing what we're doing. The way that they say it is systems of meaning. Where is this? By analyzing these elements, communicators can better understand how meaning is created and shared in various contexts. It's all about meaning. It's all about meaning. The last 80 years, the last forever, all philosophy, that's the claim. It's that hard. That all philosophy is defined by that. Otherwise, it's not philosophy. Understand how meaning is created and shared in various contexts. And even Kant, it all leads back to that. Why are we doing what we're doing? Is there something driving us? How do we desire things? How do we start needing things? How is meaning created? And all around us, we take for granted. It's the thing we take for granted the most, unanimously, definitely, hands down. We don't question why the fuck we're doing what we're doing. Never. You become a philosopher if you do that properly. So there's no philosophers anymore today. Because the moment today that you question why the fuck am I doing what I'm doing, the system would fall apart so quickly. Everyone hates their job, unanimously, and it was 70% bullshit jobs in 2012. And now it's like gonna be a lot more than that. This is why I start stumbling over myself, because I realize that there's a lot of claims that I make that to normal people just sound outrageous. So then I need to justify them, but I'm used to justifying them for myself. But I should take the time with these videos to justify it myself, because otherwise they won't be very interesting. Like, they should at least be interesting to someone who's going to pay attention to all of them. Like, that's, you know, then I'm actually doing my own thing. Then it's for me, or it's for itself. It's for the sake of itself. The best art, that's what they say in Tarkovsky's Stalker. The best art is done for the sake of itself, because it's so great that it just exists. There's like this one level which is like, if someone actually looked at it, really looked at it with no bias, they would love it. That's what good art is. If you looked at Marvel with no bias, if you looked at a Marvel film with no bias and you were like spawned in fresh into the universe, you wouldn't think much of it. You'd be like, what is this? There's like a random circular shield with a star on it, and this guy's flying around in an iron suit, and then there's this big pink guy, and he's fucking, you know, coming out of like these black hole portals. Like, it's the religion of our time. It wouldn't make a difference to you. It's just the religion of our time, right? What does it mean to spawn in with no bias, to be fresh? Let's cover that first. What does that mean? Well, if you could spawn in and not have any semi-logical bias, if you didn't have any pre-existing biases towards any of the signs and signifiers around you, right? It's not that people like take like, what would it feel like for an alien to see this world? Basically, that's what it is. And it's the same thing as saying to look at the world with no predetermined meaning. And that's why they're all obsessed with how meaning is created. Why do we care about things? Why do things mean certain things to us? Is the same thing as why do we care about them, basically. Certain things mean things to us. So, like the physical objects around us, they mean things, like the signs that are around us. So this is why, I'm not just being a crackhead, this is why Baudrillard's first book is called The System of Objects. Kind of boring. No, he's not talking about some like crazy definition of like object in like a philosophical term. He's talking about what you and I know as everyday objects. That's literally what the book is about. His entire first thesis out of uni, and this was sound checked by Roland Barthes and whoever the fuck, like big dogs. The system of objects. Because the fact we interact with anything, the fact we use anything, is already remarkable. That's the fundamental thing that needs to be questioned. That's what all of philosophy is about. Why do certain things mean things to us? Why do we care about certain things? Anyway, a semiotician's job is to look at everything with total and pure indifference, like an alien would. And if you were an alien and you saw a Marvel film, it is just a collection of signs that relate to each other in a very specific system of meaning that we're living in. And if you just looked at it indifferently, we're like all the way over here to enjoy a Marvel film. You have to be like all the way over here. You can enjoy it. People enjoy Marvel just as much as, I'm not going to go on a film bro rant. I'm going to just say it, sentimental value. People would enjoy Marvel as much as I enjoy sentimental value. But it's much more of a specific sign system within which they can do it. And does that mean it's invalid? Does that mean, like, you know, there's an objectivity to like good art and bad art? Maybe not. But that's the only thing we can say for certain, is that, and artists always talk about this, resonance. It resonates with a really large portion of people. Those are the works of art that stick around. That's like why Van Gogh actually stuck around, and now no one knows why the fuck Van Gogh stuck around. We're all just pretending we know. It's fucking MoCo Museum opening up. to sell, like, you know, Andy Warhol and Basquiat. No one who walks in that museum, including me, knows what the fuck is going on. It means nothing to me. Most other people take a photo for the gram, they post it, and they don't fucking question it twice, and they might buy the fucking t-shirt. MoCo Museum, you know what I'm talking about. This is going to be dependent on you being in the UK. MoCo fucking Museum. We all know it. We're all pretending like we still know what the fuck Van Gogh means. And there's all the fucking... What am I talking about? Not MoCo Museum. MoCo Museum and all the other ones. The 3D museums. You've all seen one of those. MoCo Museum's like... It fits in that category, right? The 3D fucking Van Gogh museums in Central London. We've all seen the ads pushed on the buses. Or, like, probably on fucking Instagram at some point. So, yes. We're just simulating the original thing. What was the original thing? It was that people cared about Van Gogh for a reason. There was some meaning to Van Gogh. Whether you liked him or you hated him, whether you thought he was a genius or not, there was meaning behind people thinking he was a genius or not. And a lot of people at the time, right, it stuck around because a lot of people, it meant something to them. But now it's sticking around because we got used to it sticking around. I don't care about the neighbours. This is what Jean-Paul Sartre calls the practico inert. Refers to the realm of human-made material objects and social structures that have become inert or independent, yet still constrain human action. It's just another word for what this guy came up with. Let's see what AI gives you. I don't know. It'll probably butcher it, but let's see. Simulation, according to Jean Baudrillard, is the process by which representations, symbols, and signs of reality replace the real itself, resulting in a world where the distinction between the two is lost. The process by which representations, symbols, and signs of reality replace the real itself, resulting in a world where the distinction between the two is lost. The practico inert, a key concept in Jean-Paul Sartre, refers to the realm of human-made material objects and social structures that have become inert or independent, yet still constrain human action. What are they talking about? It's almost like they're saying that people are just doing stuff for the sake of doing it instead of actually progressing human understanding. We should be progressing human understanding. That's the politics of a true philosopher. That's as political as they get. The real philosophy. Guys, we should just be figuring out what does existence mean? Like, that's the main goal. You've all been duped into this other thing over here, guys. Yeah. Okay, now you get it. Elon Musk doesn't want to be doing what he's doing. Jeff Bezos doesn't want to be doing what he's doing. Donald Trump, anyone. No one wants to be in the structural role. We call those structural roles, okay? Elon Musk is fulfilling his structural role in the system, right? Everyone is fulfilling their structure. Elon Musk and the bum, right? And the assassin. How do we get distracted from the ultimate goal? This other thing that we all got mystified by, it's called mystification in Marxian speak. All this stuff that mystifies us to the fundamental goal. Where did Marx go wrong? Marx is decent, but he went wrong. He went wrong somewhere. No, it's not that he didn't take into account human nature. Bro, stop talking. It's not that. Okay? It's something that's way harder to understand, and so people can't care enough to understand it if they identify as a Marxist or a leftist, and then you are left with the idea of Marxism, because no one could be fucked enough to actually get why, and so people just ended up doing it because, oh, that's what we're meant to be doing. It's our version of ritual, so we don't go insane. Van Gogh 3D Museum is our version of ritual so that we don't go insane. No one knows why the fuck they're doing what they're doing anymore. Your job is a version of ritual so that you don't go insane. You don't know why you're going on the to your job, apart from the fact that you need a house, which is like, okay, wow, you're gonna live your life for material circumstances. Like, we're so beyond that. I'm not even gonna get into that, right? It's something much more subtle in the Marxian theory that's wrong, okay? Marx posited or proposed, whatever the fuck, his idea of exchange value, okay? Which very simply is the money that a good can give you. Like the idea of money, right? Like I can exchange this for 50p, I can exchange this for 10 pounds. Everything is exchangeable and equivalent. There's that first thing that distracts us from the goal, Marx says. Yes. He called it commodity fetishism. That's what commodity fetishism is. You might have heard it tossed around before by some people who have no idea what it is and don't care to figure it out and just want to chat GPT the answer in a paragraph, okay? But what it actually means, guys, if you just pay enough attention, if you pay enough attention to anything, you always get to the same place. I love Begonia. I love the film Begonia. I bought the Steel book, and there's a line in there. He says, I ran through the whole digestive tract in about 5 years, and by that and then he goes on to list things like Marxism, far right, far left, blah blah blah, like all the political positions you could have. You know, this is what he says: I ran through the whole digestive tract in 5 years, and he's saying that in the context of, and this is where I've come to, and in the context of the film, which you should definitely watch if you haven't, he comes to this conclusion that he just needs to kidnap the CEO of a really rich company. And like, he doesn't want to kill her. He just genuinely wants, like, to get back to the point, which is us just helping each other out, asking, what does it even mean to exist? Right? And we'll have that drive everything. We'll have that drive the compassion, right? And that's the human project. That's the fundamental human project. Not going to the moon. Going to the moon is insofar as going to the moon could be a fundamental human project. Let's say filling out fucking spreadsheets is certainly not a fundamental human project. What is it a project of then? Why are there a bunch of people filling out spreadsheets? It's a project of the order of production, guys. It's not like there's all the humans, okay? And then there's the order of production, and you're doing what the order of production wants. Everyone. This is the thing. It's not even that someone's controlling someone else. That would be better. Bro, feudal times were better. Because the peasants were actually being exploited by the kings. No one's being exploited anymore. Jeff Bezos is not exploiting you. That was like phase 1, bro. That was like phase 1. He's not exploiting you anymore. Jeff Bezos is also being exploited by order of production, and that is how we can unleash forces that come back to bite us. What was that word? This is like a Nietzschean thing. Nietzsche. Let's see how loud okay, that's fine. Okay, the mic's good. Nietzsche, forces that come back to destroy us. There's like a word for it, is my only point. There's a word for it from Nietzsche, who's like Baudrillard talks about this all the time. There's literally like things that come back to like destroy us. We're all destroying ourselves, and we're all complicit in destroying ourselves and destroying the human race. That's like, and you know, again, very simply, because we're being distracted from the fundamental thing, the only thing that humans can care about, which is their own existence and what it means to be human. That's the human project. Everything else is a distraction, and that's why I said that going to the moon could be part of the human project if it links back to helping us discover like the meaning of life. Okay, and maybe we go to the moon because like there's an asteroid that's going to hit Earth, and so we need to preserve human consciousness. So that makes no sense, because then the moon is thrown out of orbit anyway and we probably all die. But you get my point. Like, if there's some existential threat on Earth, even though we're all working together already, I don't know why that would happen, but like in a philosophical sense as well, not like okay, I think I just figured out the fundamental thing, which is that the human project, like another way you can say what I've been saying, and actually this isn't crackhead talk because I've said this many times as well, and I'll bring up in what capacity. The fundamental human project is avoiding slipping into any one fundamental human project. Okay? I'm not a crackhead. There's a TV show about this by a really popular TV show director. So I'm not insane yet, you know? But like, if Vince Gilligan and Yorgos Lanthimos and Ari Aster and Jean Baudrillard, not even Jean Baudrillard anymore, he's probably viewed as a conspiracy theorist. I'm doing that for him. I'm turning him into conspiracy. I'm bringing him into the conspiracy theorist age. There you go, right? But basically, you know, if all of these people didn't exist, I would probably be like in a mental asylum right now. Right? There would be such rigidity of thought. Like what I'd be saying is definitely conspiracy, but I'm bringing him into the conspiracy theorist age. I'm doing him that justice. Okay, so anyway, I don't know, I'm waffling. But the fundamental human project, we started off by saying that it was to figure out what's the point of existence. And another way of saying that, figure out what the meaning of life is, meaning really is the name of the game. Okay, fine, figure out meaning. And another way of saying that is to not let us slip into one human project. Like, it's this paradoxical thing. And okay, why was I not a crackhead for this? Because if I go postmodernism on Wikipedia, I don't know who wrote the wiki, and this is why Wikipedia is really important. And Grokpedia, I think, is like the most awful thing ever. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it properly, I found out about this a couple of days ago. Grokpedia. This tangent's going to be short. So it's Wikipedia written by Grok, and it's just like it's not. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to the system of meaning is breaking down. Like the entire point was to figure out how meaning is created, so we don't get sidetracked into anything, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. Another way to say it is this, and I really appreciate Wikipedia. That's what I was trying to say. I got ahead of myself. I think Grokpedia sucks. That's another topic. So what I was actually trying to say is that there's the second way of saying it, and there you go. Here we go. Postmodernism encompasses a variety of artistic, cultural, and philosophical movements. It emerged in the mid-20th century as a skeptical response to modernism, emphasizing the instability of meaning, rejection of universal truths, and critique of grand narratives. Okay, so I always used to say this, actually. It wasn't on Wikipedia, but the Wikipedia definition is very good. You can sum this up even better, though. Maybe I should fucking make an edit. It's the grand narrative against all other grand narratives. It's the human project of not letting us get too sidetracked by any other human project, because we don't know how this meaning thing works. We need to figure out, back to the first definition, how this meaning thing works before we get too caught up in it. Because, like, who knows? It could be like we're getting, and that's why another way you could say it is that we're losing what's human about us. So you can say that we're losing what's human about us, and then some people will come back and say, why does that even matter? And then, you know, all you can do is shrug your shoulders. But we don't know that it doesn't matter. So maybe we shouldn't get rid of it. The thing that's human to us. But we're busy doing that. The only thing that can be human to us is our first person experience in questioning it. Every other meaning that you confer onto anything else is dictated, like, we're trying to figure out how it's dictated, right? We're trying to figure that out. But currently, while we're trying to figure it out, you've bought into one of the dictations. In this case, capitalism, consumerism, order of production. That's it. You know, people say this stuff is really hard to read, and it is. At the beginning, but then it can be broken down so simply, and that's the only reason I'm willing to put myself on YouTube and like probably get laughed at, and probably have people doubt my authenticity and all this type of stuff. You get all this shit. Oh, you're gonna record yourself. People won't even say it, but you know that they mean it. And like, you can't blame them, because everyone who records themselves nowadays, they're not. Maybe they all think they're interesting, but like, I don't know. It's like fucking Primeagen, bro. I don't know why Primeagen is my reference streamer, but like, you know, like, okay, well, you're talking about programming languages. Is that a fundamental human project, really? Programming languages, that's what my life is going to be. This really thin, remember we talked about the scale and Marvel films, this really thin band of structures of meaning in which that makes sense. Like, there's not a lot of universes in which it makes sense to go to this job that you hate and like for that to actually be the answer, right? Like what other universes could there be? I.e., like what other universes can I bring into fruition by changing my reality? Because reality is just in your head. Okay, there might be a concrete reality, but this guy long ago who completely informs our justice system and like the way that we think, this is like also scientific thinking, kind of, I think, maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but anyway, this guy who like even the shit philosophers agree with is what I'm trying to say. Even the shit philosophers agree with this guy. He's like a big dog, right? People would be like, okay, this is how it works. So we can agree on that, guys. This is how hard the human project to avoid all the other human projects is. This is philosophy. But it's just agreeing on a bunch of things really fucking slowly from the beginning. So we can agree on that. Whatever's happening is just inside our head. And you know what? Before we know any more, it would be a really good idea if we didn't change like that setup. Okay, all I know is what's in my head. And I remember Zizek talking about this and I misunderstood him and I thought it was just some cheap comment. It was actually a really good comment. He was talking about Neuralinks, it was in that capacity. And he said that I think the current way it is that like, oh, there is reality out there and thoughts in my head and there's the separation, fundamental separation, which we haven't changed yet. He thinks that's really good. Now I was like, what are you even talking about, Zizek? You're trying to justify some concrete reality, bro. You know, I was just like applying my consensus reality ideas really like lazily and lopsidedly. Now that I actually think about it, he's right. And what he's saying is what I'm saying. Like, okay, maybe there's a concrete reality, maybe there's not. Maybe like using a Neuralink wouldn't fucking change anything, but let's not tinker with the setup while we're not sure. Like, let's not get rid of what's human about us and let it be infested and taken over by the inhuman. Let's work to keep that alive. That's it. That's literally all we're saying, right? And that's the entire point of Pluribus. I'm going all the way back to Vince Gilligan, going all the way back to these guys that thank God they exist, otherwise I'd seem like a crackhead. One of them is Vince Gilligan. He made a show called Pluribus. You should watch it. It's on Apple TV Plus, which is really interesting. Apple have actually kept their brand alive very well, while also catering to the mass. I think whoever's running that shit, I know it's like what, Tim Cook, but like, I don't know if he really calls the shots on like something as minimal as Apple TV Plus. Maybe someone else is running the studio, and he's some really big, he's probably a good ass guy running the studio who's not Tim Cook, and just no one knows about him. Guy who runs Apple TV Plus. But anyway, they've actually retained their brand really well because they still lure you in with content, and it's still medium is the message, and you'll still pray to all the same things that everyone else has prayed to, and like you're not focusing on a fundamental human project. But they kind of invest a lot of money and promote quite heavily shows that are at least telling you that. Like, Pluribus is telling you, like, if you really pay attention, if you don't pay attention too hard, it's still interesting enough that people will just watch it. But what actually makes it a good show that might go on to win awards and stuff is that it's telling you like your situation. And so anyway, Pluribus and like Begonian and this type of stuff, you always have, that's the entire point of artists, is to provide a mirror up to reality, right? And this is like why it instantly makes sense. You're inside of your life, you can never see all of it unless someone reflects it really well for you. That's what artists mean by resonance. And anyway, so let's do a sum up of where we are. Okay, it all links back to the very first thing that I said. Let's really do a sum up, and we're going to take our time. That was one of the points that I made. We're going to take our time. That's all philosophy is. It's really taking your time with figuring out what it's all about. And then as a result of that, because I really think that's a good definition of philosophy, you can be philosophical in anything, and you can be philosophical in piano, and see what taking piano really seriously as a system of meaning, where that takes you, and art and videos, right? It actually means something, guys. Like, art is a word that's useful. It refers to something. No, it doesn't make it art just because it's in a museum. You're right. Van Gogh is no longer art. Van Gogh is no longer art because he doesn't resonate with anyone, insofar as he doesn't resonate with anyone. Maybe there's like 1,000 people who still understand Van Gogh in like some art universities. 1,000 max. Right? Leonardo da Vinci maybe a little bit more. Right? That's not art anymore. Correct.
Correct, it's shit. Good art is now this. The thing is, no one's paying attention enough to this. Everyone paid attention to Van Gogh. It spread, and then we all forgot why it spread. Van Gogh was cared about by people, and if Van Gogh isn't cared about by people, like, for whatever reason, Jesus, take the example of Jesus, but the Van Gogh example, because we've been using it, right? People originally cared about Van Gogh, and then it just turns into Van Gogh 3D Museum, right? That's the fucking sum up. MoCo Museum, look it up and make your own judgment if you're not familiar enough, okay? I don't need to explain everything to you, do I? Do a little bit of work by yourself. Do a little bit of work. If you stumbled across this video for some reason and you're watching it, do a little bit of work by yourself. And like start, and maybe you've seen the bus ads, but like also Google it and like see what comes up. And start to get a feel for like what's really happening. Like when you measure what we're meant to be doing as figuring out what we're meant to be doing, kind of makes sense how far we've strayed from that. You know, you start to understand why these things are weird. They're like simulations. It's a simulation. No one gives a fuck. I'm sorry. No one gives a fuck about any of these people, bro. No one gives a fuck. And it's a corner building right next to Marble Arch Station, and they bought out entire floors, bro. Look how beautiful it is. Look how beautiful it is. And at the top floor, you know who they have? Who's not even listed here, but the guy who has the entirety of the top floor. Like the most art in there by far, on the top fucking floor. And he's not listed on Robbie Williams, bro. No one cares about Banksy. No one gives a fuck about Banksy. No one gives a fuck about Banksy. No one. What I mean by that is it doesn't mean anything to anyone. Yes, everyone knows Banksy. Yes, I know that. I know everyone knows Banksy. Oh, he's undeniably popular. I know that. He's popular. No one gives a fuck about him. Does that make sense? He's popular, but no one gives a fuck about him. That's everything today. My job takes up most of my time. My job is popular with my time. But it doesn't give a, like, I don't care about it. I couldn't care less about it. Most of what you watch, it takes up your time, but you only care about it. Like, you know, you can genuinely care about it, but it's like you're told to care about it, so it distracts you. Whatever. Yeah, MoCo fucking Museum. You know, like, do some of your own work. I don't have to explain everything. But anyway, thank you for watching. No one's gonna fucking watch. Anyway, I wanted to start this video by giving an anecdote, because stuff can get complicated very quickly. So I just wanted to give an anecdote, which is that I feel like everyone, there was like one party that you drank a lot or you smoked a lot at, like that one particular party. I think we all had a night where like we've been out and you just like drink quite a lot. Like we've all tried being like blackout drunk, like at least close to blackout drunk. Of course, that's like the most default thing that people talk about is getting drunk today. And you see the pubs on a Saturday in Soho, like this is no fucking secret, especially in the UK. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but like it's just drinking culture. It's just drinking culture among everyone. Like I could tell you stories, but I'd be like, It's not like, oh, I'll tell you stories, it's sick. It's like, no, like, it's just so sad, the drinking culture in this country. It's so sad. It's another distraction. But anyway, so we've all been there. And like, whether it's with another illegal drug or whatever it might be, it can just be drinking. That's fine. You wake up the next day and you kind of feel like you're watching your life on a screen. Maybe a lot of people weren't like are conscious of this. Maybe it's too far back in the past and like everyone who grew up past 2010 didn't experience that. But I think I was just at the cusp where like some of the effects were still taking place as I was growing up, so I could notice them. Just on the cusp. And one of these effects was, you know, I drank a lot, whatever, I smoked, and then like actually it was the next morning, but anyway, like I felt like I was watching my life on a screen. The night before, I felt fine. I felt more in my body, and we all know this effect. Whenever we do any drugs, even drinking, you feel more in your body. You feel more. People love drinking because they feel in their body again, right? They still talk about bullshit. And we'll get to that. But they feel in their body again, at least. right? Okay, that's a fine level. So I felt in my body more when I was drunk. We can all agree on that, right? Then I woke up the next night, the next morning, and I felt like I was watching my life on a screen. My crazy claim here, guys, just from like that to those two pieces of information, massive jump, is that it feels like all the time, like you're watching your life on a screen. Because if you have to do drugs to feel different, and then the next morning, you feel like the same difference. Like, you know, the last night you were in your own body, and then you wake up and you feel like you're not in your body when you're sober, is the point. When you're sober again, you feel like you're not in your body, you feel like you're watching your life on a screen. Then maybe that's how it was all the time, the whole time. And you just couldn't tell that that's what it felt like because you hadn't had a different period of feeling. Like, you hadn't, you know, this is basically the argument of like, you shouldn't need drugs. Really, you shouldn't need drugs. But most people who say that need drugs. Like, maybe a fucking Buddhist, like, sitting under a tree cross-legged, like, starved, can actually say you shouldn't need drugs. But, like, your mum will say that today, and your mum is, like, not enlightened, man. She's just not. Like, people just aren't, you know, they're caught up in their own job and their own, whether it's a job or whether they're interesting people or whatever, they still care about, like, the interest rate of a mortgage. Like, all that changes between the classes, between lower class parents or people, middle class parents and upper class people, the only thing that changes today, and this goes back to like people just fulfilling their structural roles, like no one is in power anymore. This goes back to that idea. People today, it's just like the caliber of the shit that they're talking about, the caliber of the situationality, I like to call it. It's still shit. It's still horse shit. It's just like horse shit for the lower classes, cat shit for the middle classes, and human shit for the upper classes. And so what I mean by that is like, you know, maybe your upper class parents are talking about like the interest rate on their mortgage. And maybe your lower class parents are talking about like their job as a waitress and like how much they hate it, and like or like they don't even say that, they're just watching Netflix and like it's a bit trashy. So again, back to Apple TV Plus and why I looked them up. Apple TV Plus is upper class shit. It's still shit. It's still doing the thing. It's just describing itself. So it's like like the most upper class you can get about it is partaking in the phenomenon while talking about it. That's also another good definition of simulation, right? It's this weird like reversibility, and he talks about remainders all the time and stuff. But just to go back to that example, Apple TV Plus, they're talking about the fact that we're all in simulation, like shows with like Pluribus, and not just Pluribus, like Severance, right? Like I've seen enough. There's also pure crap, like Silo, and I'm assuming Hijack, pure fucking crap. But there's also like Severance, and like they invest a lot of money into it, it seems like, and they fucking, you know, like deck out London Bridge with like blue balloons. Like my girlfriend was showing me this, I was like, I what? Like they paid for London Bridge? Like they didn't do that for fucking Silo, right? They could have. They probably fucking could have. There's probably as many viewers of Silo. Now I'm just waffling. But anyway, there's a lot of shows on Apple TV Plus which you know put them in this category. And it's that they're talking about it, but they're not doing anything about it. Basically, but like that's such an unsatisfying formulation. It's more like the like that is what it is, but it pervades every part of your life. That's what happens. Talking about it instead of doing something about it. And that sums up our information networks. And that's exactly what he means. It's not that fucking complicated. It's not that fucking complicated. Nor do you have to be a crackhead to read it. You're just genuinely unconvinced now, because it was hard for me. It took me like a year and a half or like 2 years to start getting somewhere with this. Okay, the actual art of our time. Like for it to actually mean something to me. This is the only thing that meant something to me. The only thing that could accurately describe our circumstances. Everyone needs to be reading it. It's the equivalent of the Bible. God, in biblical times, like the God from the Bible, was to people at that time what Jean Baudrillard is. Like the writings of Jesus. Like insofar as Jesus was just a guy who wrote a book that caught on fire. I'm not trying to make claims about like he can live forever and he's going to go to heaven. That's not what I'm saying, people. Alright? I'm just saying that, like, Jesus was a normal guy, didn't go to heaven, didn't fucking like, you know what, none of the miracles, fine. You get all your scientific objectivity. I'm not trying to argue that. I'm just saying Jesus, insofar as he was the guy who penned the book that caught fire, the Bible. This is the Bible of our times. That's what I'm convinced by, because I grew up in our times and this has meaning to me. So it's the equivalent. It's just something that has meaning in a world without meaning, and they're all obsessed with how meaning gets created and how you get mystified with the fundamental goal of asking, how is it that I care about the shit that's around me? What if someone's profiting off of that? But we're beyond that. We're beyond that. We're so beyond capitalist exploitation. I always, you know what? I really hate using the word capitalism even. Seriously. It's not capitalism. It's not capitalism. It's so far beyond that. It's simulation, but you can't use the word that it actually is. Why? Because some dickheads made a movie about it and it became popular, and everyone, like, insofar as it even had an original message, like an original point, maybe it did. Maybe the Wachowski brothers kind of got it. They made Simulacra and Simulation compulsory reading on this film, by the way. But everyone else who got it didn't get it. But how crackheady and arrogant does it sound to be like, oh no, like, you know, it didn't really get it. And then everyone's like, oh, fuck off. Like, people just want, like, bro, they manipulate you and they make you self-conscious so hard. They make you so self-conscious. And they make you feel like you're a dumbass. And so because of that, all people want is like one win. They just want to be like, oh, like the Matrix, which I understood. Okay, like there's people in their body heat is getting. Surely that's it. Just the signs of it. No, it's like a completely different subject. So even if the Wachowski brothers, for them it represented like the actual thing, the movie The Matrix was not going to be interpreted like that in any, like, in the society that it's trying to describe. Does that make sense? Art is the stuff that holds up a reflection to your actual life, right? So you need to make art, like this is why it's the Bible of our times, is if people just read it, there's a fundamental point, which I'm gonna get to the original point. If people just read it, it would make sense, but they're just so, like, even if they pick it up and open it, they'll just be like thinking about reading it, or like not spending enough time with the words, and like they just can't, people are just lazy as fuck nowadays, basically is what I'm saying. It's not just that, people, but anyway. This is why he says, I was reading this recently. I know I look like a crackhead, but like, where was it? Informate the media. I'm having to use the index. Look, I'm rusty. What do they call it? The contents. 79. This chapter, anyway, I'm not going to fucking read it. Maybe I'll read one line. But it's called The Implosion of Meaning in the Media. If you want to look it up and do something, like just do a little bit of work with me. Do a little bit of work with me. I don't know, maybe I'm not selling myself well enough. Maybe I'll keep making videos and then like it'll get pushed to your inbox like 5 times and then like, I don't know. But whoever you are, if you're watching, do a little bit of work with me. Look up now The Implosion of Meaning in the Media, pause the fucking video, and just like, I don't know, scroll through the first page. But anyway, I'm just gonna read a line for it. Maybe none of it makes sense, but then you'll come back here and maybe it'll make more sense because I'm trying to tell you what it means. So anyway, he says stuff like either information. So there's 3 hypotheses. The title is The Implosion of Meaning in the Media. There's 3 hypotheses. Well, I'm just going to read it because his words are so good. We live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning. Consider 3 hypotheses. Either again, this is the way. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting myself. I'm going to continue. This is the way that you can make it make sense. I've tried to boil it down so simply. Okay, the grand narrative, the human project that we should be focused on, is against all. It's being against all grand narratives. Being skeptical, but not just in a grouchy, grumpy way. Like truly skeptical. And when you're skeptical of everything, and you're skeptical about the way that things gain utility to us, and you're skeptical about the fact that, like, you know, Why do I view this as something I can place something on? What if it could mean something else? And why do I think that instead of something else? Right? Looking at the world like an alien would, with fresh eyes. Measure it against that. Why do things, what is the meaning of life? Why do I do what I do? There's nothing else anything else is mystification. Even being pre-concerned with material goods and needing a house and all this type of stuff. Seriously. The implosion of meaning in the media. I'm not going to read that bit again. There's three hypotheses. Either information produces meaning, a negentropic factor, but cannot make up for the brutal loss of signification in every domain. Okay, whatever. Or information has nothing to do with signification. Or very much on the contrary, there is a rigorous and necessary correlation between the two, between information and meaning. Okay? We're talking about meaning, and we're talking about information. What is the correlation? So that's the most interesting hypothesis, basically. You can read the first two in your own time. The one that Baudrillard takes, is the third one. On the contrary, there is a rigorous and necessary correlation between the two, to the extent that information is directly destructive of meaning and signification, or that it neutralizes them. The loss of meaning is directly linked to the dissolving, dissuasive action of information, the media, and the mass media. What does he say here? That's the intro. What's the point? The line that I wanted to read to you. Why does it do that? Rather than creating communication, why doesn't it do that? We all think it does that. It exhausts itself in the act of staging communication. Rather than producing meaning, it exhausts itself in the staging of meaning. A gigantic process of simulation. Right, we're all Van Gogh, 3D Van Gogh Museum. MoCA Museum. Your job. The non-directive interview, speech, listeners who call in, participation at every level, blackmail through speech. You are concerned, you are the event. How many fucking, vote this January 29th, and you see them on the tube. There's so many examples of this on the tube. The tube is the most awfully bait method of social control. It is so insanely, it's like so obvious that I can't write about it. Cause see it, say it, sorted. Like, yeah, bro, that being blasted into your ear every 3 stations, yeah, it does do something to you. Along with all the posters which are telling you to text the police if you see someone suspicious. And all of that it's just doing, the reason it doesn't feel like it's doing anything is because it's already done its job. You don't trust anyone. You just don't. Unanimously, 99.999999999% of people on the tube, just in public areas in general, do not speak to each other if they don't know each other. Most tube carriages are silent, apart from the odd conversation between 2 people who already know each other, and you can tell that. You can just tell. Obviously. What I'm saying I don't even need to convince you of. People do not speak to people they don't know. Yes, you ask your barista for fucking extra sugar, and then you fucking maybe make a little joke. Okay, great, mate. That doesn't fucking count. Saying thank you to the barista does not fucking count. That's what's called phatic speech. This is what's called phatic speech. Phatic talk is often dismissed as trivial social interaction that uses language like hello, how are you, or comments on the weather, primarily to build relationships, establish connection, and maintain social bonds, rather than to exchange information. I hate that I'm using AI overview, but that sounds like a good enough definition. Let's see what Wikipedia says. Communication which primarily serves to establish or maintain social relationships. The AI just steals the Wikipedia thing anyway. In other words, something interesting, finally, because it's not an AI-generated thing. Go on Wikipedia instead of the AI things, okay? Anyway. In other words, phatic expression have mostly socio-pragmatic. Now that's a new term we can figure out. In linguistics and the philosophy of language, pragmatics is the study of how context contributes to meaning. Whoa, guys! There's some random word on some random page How am I ever gonna it's so much. I've got to fucking make flashcards like I did with geography for my GCSEs, guys. I've got to make flashcards and like I've got to learn all the words. I've got to get a mini Oxford dictionary. I've got to learn all the words. No, you don't, bro. You don't. It's all just how all of the real stuff is just how it contributes to meaning. That's it. And figuring out how we get mystified from that. That's all that the real philosophy is. I'm gonna pause here.